Alright, guys, welcome to game number 1 in the best of 3 for the grand final of the Warchief Club 11. So we've got Stormkeeper as our blue HRE player today, and as our red Rus player today, we have Diego 86. So Diego instantly going for a hunting cabin and skipping his herd. He's going to go down for a second cabin. Oh no, go down for the house. Skip the early cabin. Stormkeeper already has a pellet. He's just got to bring it back to his food. In fact, what he probably could have done is have the sheep all here, park the pellet just here, and that way he covers his wood line at the start too. But at least having it on the food, I find, is the way to go. You're better off going up to 4 gold gatherers rather than having 3 in the pellet here, because you can have the pellet on the food where you're going to have, 5 to 8 gatherers, and you're just going to get that much more value out of him. And particularly if you can get him sandwiched between the wood line and your sheep, you're in a really good spot, because your pellet's then empowering not only all your food gatherers, but also 1 or 2 of your gold gatherers. You can get him empowering up to about 9 or 10 villas at the start of the game. But I mean, anything more than the 3 or 4 gold gatherers is good, basically. When you're empowering just gold gatherers, it's rough. So, both our players going up to multiple scouts. We've got 2 here for Stormkeeper, while Diego's gone to 2. It's pretty normal to go to 3 with Rus, and then with 2 on any civ playing into Rus, just to try and, just for the Rus player to try and get as much value out of all these little hunts around the map, while the opponent is going to do what they can to try and stop them, killing the wolves, killing the deer, trying to get all the loose sheep, and trying to figure out where the boar are, if there are any, because if you can get on a boar, and I don't think there are any on this map. Oh no, there is one there. This is the one, and there's one over here. If you can get on the boar, and this one's in a really, really nice spot for Diego, actually. It's going to be much harder for Stormkeeper to get to it. While this other one here, pretty neutral in the middle of the map. So really all Diego has to do is get on this one, and then get on the one over here. These guys are worth 75 gold, and on top of that, for all the gold you accumulate with your bounties, you're going to unlock free food upgrades, 5% at a time, topping out at 15%, which is big because it's equivalent to the... I don't know, where is it? Equivalent to the survival techniques upgrade. And on top of that, it does mean any gold that they do generate is slightly increased. It doesn't really matter for these ones, but for any that are in range of wood, it's a huge boon. Because I think it's, 3 seconds off each time. It's actually a 10% increase in the train speed, or 10% reduction in the train speed time. So if you can get to tier 3 and have like 3 or 4 well placed. I just realised how pretty all the trees look. The bamboo trees, I love them. If you can have 3 or 4 well placed hunting cabins generating about 30 gold, then you can really earn a lot and cut down on your need to transition to market gathering in the late game with caravans, and even just sort of reserve your gold mines in the mid game. But at the same time, playing like that is greedy, and you're going to get punished for it, and you're always better off going for things that are defensively greedy, like town centers, in favour of it. This chapel's nice. It's going to be able to empower everything of Stormkeepers at the start here. Just about everything, as long as he gets those wood gatherers on this side, rather than chopping out this way. He's going to get empowerment on everything. Or Diego. going for that golden gate. Gonna be able to generate resources with that quite snappily. Going for a lot of wood early here, so he wants to get production buildings or an early second town center. Stormkeeper only on the one prelate, but at the moment he doesn't need any more than this. Because I mean, once the chapel finishes, he's going to have this starting prelate in there. And it's not till he needs to get on the hunt up here or over here that he's actually going to have to worry about having a prelate there for empowering and for healing any units on defense. There's the stables opening here for the HRE player. Early fortress here for the Rus player. So I don't know what the actual radius of this is for the influence, but it must... Oh, well, it's going to apply to there at least. It's just interesting to see Diego didn't actually go for a hunting cabin over here and go for a sheep to begin with. Because it would have paid off a lot more than just going for this cabin over here to start with. Stormkeeper's going to have to run from that fight, 1v2. But meanwhile, he's going to have some great empowering behind this, and he's going to be able to harass while going toward a fairly quick age 3 perhaps, or even just getting all his eco techs. But I mean, he's got a lot of food there. Well, Diego, at the moment, going to respond to the stables with the barracks. So he's already on a bit of a back foot. And I mean, the hard part about this is if you get caught in the trap of just having barracks units and the HRE play goes to a quicker age 3, they can just go for a Burgrave age 3 and then just delete you with man-at-arms production versus your own spearmen and whatever else you manage to sort of throw up in response. The Stormkeeper. Try going for some harassment. Diego's already going for a nice second town center here. A little greedy because it's away from the first, but in saying that, it does give him good coverage of this other side of the wood line and the gold vein here. He probably just needs to throw up a fortress just to gain the increased gathering at the town center itself, which he doesn't have at this one, but he does is starting. So spear production starts for Diego. He's already started walling off this hunt just to make it a pain in the ass for his opponent to get to. But there's a fast Burgrave here for Stormkeeper. Really nice timing, like I said. And particularly if you go for single stables to harass your opponent, put them in a false sense of security so they throw up the spearmen. Throw up the racks for spears. Look at going to a second town center or playing towards their own quick age 3. You can get this Burgrave out and really back up with good food, gold eco behind this. You can just dismantle your opponent. So Diego walling off this hunt, and he's going to go on it already. But yeah, he hasn't gone for any cabins for gold income. They've all just been for hunts, and he's even skipped that early macro cabin just for the gold that most people go to. Ooh, this might give up the game of the distant gathering though. So it's very smart of Stormkeeper to have these units out in the mid-map just to catch these guys, a couple of free vills, and he should be able to back out of this with ease, I think, if he's going to control this. Yeah. So he cleans up a vill, gets one to half health for next time, slows down Diego's attempt to try and get this distance gathering. Diego's going to try walling off this other side, because again, he can pinch that distant hunt. And he's put down a fortress near this relic, just in case he gets stuck with a monk here. or with a slower monk than his... Well, I mean, he's in age 2, his opponent's age 3, so Stormkeeper really could, if he had have gone for the relics, could really be denied with this, but Stormkeeper's actually gone for the other landmark in mind, so gonna see a fast Burgrave transition and push, and even with some knights, if you go for stables, or even with a range, it's very hard to deal with without going for age 3. So Diego committing to age 3 now, but it's going to cost him a lot of gathering time in the meantime, because remember, Stormkeeper was able to do it with about half that number of villagers. Now Stormkeeper's going to have things go his way because there's going to be late man-at-arms production from his opponent. It's not going to be 5 barracks' worth at once, which is what the Burgrave allows. So a lot of these villages are going to fall. Trying to race out with this Abbey of the Trinity, which produces warrior monks, which are nice because they're sort of like a semi-knight. Like, they're tanky as hell, but they actually don't have the damage of a full-blown knight, while being just about as expensive. Actually, not quite as expensive. More expensive than a regular monk, at least. And this is going to be devastating for Diego. Stormkeeper's in his base, going to be able to force a lot of garrisoning. And the man-at-arms, wonderful armor against the ranged fire. So Diego garrisoning basically everything at this point, except for the villagers. The single villager over here gathering, and these berries gatherers, which are going to fall. Meanwhile, man-at-arms overwhelming anything coming out of this barracks for Diego. It's been a really, really well executed Burgrave rush here. Stormkeeper, and a bit sloppy for Diego to not notice it incoming. Trying to respond accordingly. There's not really any ranges or barracks or stables on the way to try and stop this. There's not really any resources. Oh, Diego's got a little bit of resources, but just not able to get out of his base long enough to have anything happen. So he's going to go for a range here. And he does have age 3, so he can get crossbowmen, but he's going to need to mass them up fast. And meanwhile, Stormkeeper's denying gathering everywhere. Once again, 16 villages at this point in the game, when you've only got 30. Having 25 idlers out of 30, this is really rough for Diego. He's not going to be able to field any units at this point. So Stormkeeper is just bleeding him out here. And it's going to basically be another death roll from here. Everywhere on the map. Diego's trying to gather here and go for a fairly greedy production building, but it's just not to be. The man-at-arms, they can just take so much range damage. They're just such an easy transition out of the Burgrave, because bearing in mind this produces infantry at the rate of 5 barracks. So right now, effectively there's 6 production facilities here already for Stormkeeper, while there's only 2, well, only 1 now for Diego, so it's been a great Burgrave rush execution. And in the meanwhile, he's going to find this monk here. I wonder if Diego's going to try and go for a conversion. He is. So is he going to get it? Ooh, I don't know. He does get it, so Stormkeeper losing a bunch of villagers there. Diego going to try and get another convert off here if he can. But he's decided, oh no, I'm not going to survive that. I've got to get out of there. So Diego with a nice conversion, but in the meanwhile he's lost his main town centre. Doesn't really have the production to be able to catch up to Stormkeeper at this point, I don't think. Because he's got 24 pop to Stormkeeper's 66. 36 army and 30 eco to... Just got it the wrong way around, haven't I? 36 eco and 30 army to 21 on eco and 4 army. And he's just trying to get out of there with the relics, if he can. This is a really nice convert for Diego. But now I think it's pretty much over. The Golden Gate under attack. The main town center under attack. Stormkeeper. GG. Well played. Stormkeeper takes game number 1. With some tidy HRE gameplay.